to hop up on here to make sure everybody's aware of what is going on right now. I am seized, obviously, by the Charlie Kirk assassination trial, and I want to make sure I'm breaking down to the public what is happening, because there is a hearing live right now, the defense versus the prosecution. Prosecution is representing Erika Kirk because she is the victim on this case, and you might recall that Erika did this news hit a while ago. It was kind of weird, where she just asserted, and then they passed around, that she really wanted to make sure that her right to a speedy trial was observed, okay? And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, like, but why? Well, it turns out that now we are understanding that this is going to be the prosecution's strategy, and I will be very clear here. I do not believe Tyler Robinson assassinated Charlie Kirk, and I believe that Turning Point USA is implicated in this moment in a cover-up of sorts, okay? What various roles were played, but to me, looking at the evidence, which I have done more than anybody else, there is a cover-up taking place, and this hearing proves it, okay? So they were supposed to have a probable cause hearing in May. It is slated on the calendar. When they agreed to do this in May, the defense, Tyler Robinson's defense, was like, well, we shouldn't set a date until we all get our discovery requests. And they were like, we're just going to put it on the calendar. Don't worry. We're just going to throw it on the calendar. And then, of course, if you guys don't have what you need, the case will not go forward. Lo and behold, Erika goes on Fox News and says, I want to make sure it's a speedy trial on the victim, whatever. And so now we're hearing that directly from the defense, and the prosecution is not disputing this, they both agree that the ATF and the FBI will not hand over their data files that they have had in their possession since September, despite multiple requests from the defense. They're like, we literally cannot have this hearing because we have not been given any data files. What am I talking about? This is crucial. Erika's team is arguing, we want the hearing to go through anyways, it's just a probable cause hearing. Okay, but they are basing this probable cause hearing, they want this to be televised, and they're going to say, what evidence do you have that Tyler Robinson did this? And the prosecution is going to say, well, we have his fingerprints that are on the gun. Well, what they're not telling you is that they're saying they have his fingerprints on the gun. That's just a summary report that the FBI gave to the defense. The defense is saying, okay, now can we see the digitized files? Can we see the fingerprints? Can we see your process and how you got this? No. You just get the summary. The summary report is all you need. No, actually, we need to make sure that what you're saying you saw and what you have is real.
Candace Owens went live, and right in the middle of breaking down the trial, she said something that completely changed the direction of the entire conversation. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about Tyler Robinson anymore. It became about why Erika Kirk appears to be aggressively pushing a story that nobody is being allowed to fully examine. And once that shift happened, people couldn't look away. Candace didn't ease into anything either. She went straight at the hearing while it was still actively unfolding, watching in real time as both sides argued over something that should never even be up for debate in the first place. Access to evidence. That's it. That's what's being fought over. And the fact that it's even a battle is exactly what started making everything feel deeply off. According to the defense, they still haven't received the actual raw files from the FBI or the ATF. Not the full reports, not the original data, just summaries. Filtered, prepackaged summaries. And somehow, despite that, the prosecution still wants to push forward with a televised probable cause hearing. That one detail is what Candace kept coming back to again and again. And honestly, it's hard to argue with why. If the case against Tyler Robinson is as airtight and bulletproof as they keep claiming it is, then why is the evidence being filtered before anyone outside the prosecution gets a real look at it? What exactly is being protected inside those unshared files? That's the moment the focus started quietly shifting. Not completely away from Tyler, but toward Erika Kirk and the very obvious urgency radiating from her side of this situation. Because this push for a speedy hearing didn't materialize out of nowhere. It was framed publicly and carefully as a grieving victim wanting justice, a widow asking for the process to simply move forward. But once you actually line up the timing and study the pressure being applied, it stops looking like a request and starts looking like something else entirely. It starts looking like an effort to lock in a specific narrative before anyone gets the opportunity to properly question it.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going, I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. So it goes twofold here. So if you're expecting to marry someone that I was blessed with, like a Charlie, you have to be the type of woman that will attract a Charlie. Are you going to church? Are you going to Bible study?
Candace made a point that's simple, but genuinely hard to ignore. The defense isn't asking for anything outside the normal bounds of legal process. They're asking to see how the fingerprints were actually analyzed. They're asking to examine the chain of custody. They're asking to verify the timeline that places Tyler Robinson at the scene. These are basic, standard, completely reasonable legal requests. And they are being told no. They get a summary and are expected to just trust it. At that point, it stops looking like standard legal procedure and starts looking like something being carefully managed and controlled from the inside. Because a probable cause hearing is not supposed to be a performance. It's not supposed to be built for television. But this one, based on what's actively being argued in court, could be televised, built entirely around claims that cannot be challenged in real time because the underlying data that would allow proper challenge simply hasn't been shared. And that raises a much bigger and more uncomfortable question. Why would anyone push something aggressively into the public spotlight before the actual foundation of that case is even visible to the people being asked to defend against it?
Really handsome.
You look gorgeous. Are you fixing my... I got a little bacon. Babe, that's deep in there. Give them a cleavage? People want cleavage. Showcase it.
Sex sells, babe.
Sex sells. That's me.
That's against our religion.
It's not. It's within the confines of marriage.
This is where older stories start connecting, not as standalone proof of anything, but as pieces that begin forming a pattern when placed side by side. There was the casting tape, the one Candace resurfaced showing a completely different version of Erika. Energetic, playful, openly chasing attention in a reality TV audition setting. A version that looks nothing like the disciplined, composed, reserved image she presents to the world today. On its own, that's not automatically damaging. People change, people evolve. Nobody is the same person they were years ago. But critics weren't focused on the past itself. They were focused on how carefully and deliberately that past appeared to be concealed. Because publicly, Erika described a very controlled, structured lifestyle before meeting Charlie Kirk. Minimal distractions, no chaotic social environments, a clean and steady personal history. A completely different tone from what those older clips and photos were clearly suggesting. And once that gap became visible, people started asking a serious question. Why was that version of her story scrubbed so carefully? And who helped make sure it stayed buried? Then came the timeline questions, and these ones hit hard.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
No, and I know you're going to keep saying that I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I know that.
No, I know.
And I know there's probably no magic string of words that I could piece together to procure some type of answer. But
Yeah.
I think on a surface level, like, I'm not going to walk out of here until I say my piece. Like, I mean, y'all know this. I just worked a series of 80, 90-hour weeks plus for AmFest.
Yeah, I think
I've had no direction or explanation since we've come back. Our CEO has been assassinated. I've done nothing but backwards for this organization, and the point where I'm wondering if this is a prank.
It's not a prank. I would never do that.
So I'm just trying to understand. And
No, I understand. It's time to...
so do I get to have a conversation with Dylan? Do I get to have a conversation with Justin or anybody? Or
Nope.
no? And there's no explanation as to why I'm going to let go.
Right now, we're leaving all...
You know, and you're going to keep saying a different direction, but I'm trying to understand how I've met multiple times with my...
We're going a different direction with the team, and I have to ask you to leave now.
You have to ask me to leave property?
Yes,
Due to what, Frank?
because we're asking you to leave because you've been terminated and we're not.
But there's no explanation or documentation for this. I've never had one bad review from Dylan. I've never had one issue with the company. I've never done anything unethical. And so I'm sitting here understanding why my entire livelihood is being completely tossed out. I mean, I sat
No,
in
you're
this chair.
gonna do great things.
No, and I
You're
plan
likely
to.
to. I don't think you're likely to being tossed out. I think you're very successful.
Well, my paycheck every other week is being tossed out, Frank, with absolutely no warning whatsoever.
I understand. At this time, it's time for you to...
It's time for me to go. Why? Like this is the
because
treatment that Turning Point is offering now.
It's time to go.
Frank, this is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think you do. This feels very heartless. This feels without emotion.
I do understand where you're coming from.
This feels completely without emotion.
Before Erika ever entered political circles, she had already been moving through spaces built on visibility and influence. Pageants, fashion opportunities, high-level networking environments that overlap with powerful social networks far more than most people realize. At certain points, she was positioning herself within high-fashion circles connected to environments known for quietly intersecting with extremely powerful and influential figures. None of that is automatic proof of wrongdoing. But once you line it all up in sequence, it stops feeling like a series of unrelated coincidences. Then there's Romania, the nonprofit project called Romanian Angels, presented publicly as straightforward humanitarian work. But when people actually looked closer at the details, they found gaps. It wasn't licensed for formal adoption. It operated more as community outreach than any kind of structured placement program. And over time, parts of its digital footprint became significantly harder to trace and verify.
I think I always had that girly girl hidden within me. After being such a tomboy and experiencing that my whole life, it was like, oh, I can curl my hair, I can put on the mascara. I come from a great family that has very amazing genetics, so thanks, Mom and Dad.
That alone might not mean much in isolation. But when older records began connecting the project to controversial figures operating in that same region during that same period, people started looking again with much sharper eyes. And this is precisely where Candace keeps steering the conversation back. Because if this trial were genuinely only about Tyler Robinson, none of that background would carry any weight at all. But the way this hearing is unfolding suggests something considerably bigger is at stake here. The speed, the resistance to basic transparency, the aggressive push to move forward before the defense can fully examine what they're entitled to examine, all of it creates a strong sense that the outcome of this case matters far more to certain people than the actual integrity of the process behind it. And that's where the idea of panic starts creeping into the picture. Not loud, obvious panic, but the calculated, slightly rushed kind.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September, and people are taking selfies with it.
I can't. I cannot. I am not capable of whatever that. When I saw this, I realized I do not know enough words. I had to consult a thesaurus, and I still could not land upon the correct adjective to describe how I felt when I saw that tent. People taking selfies under a recreation. I don't know if it's actually the tent. It looks like it's pretty old, or a tent that Charlie died under. That's what was happening at AmFest. Horrified. I was aghast. I don't think I ever described myself as aghast. I was aghast. It was ghastly to look at that and to realize that they made a conscious decision to allow that to happen. To what end?
The kind where every move looks planned on the surface, but carries just a little too much urgency underneath it. You can see it in the timeline of events following Charlie Kirk's passing. A rapid transition into leadership positions, immediate involvement in major organizational decisions, and reports of significant internal changes happening behind the scenes at a pace that struck many people as unusual given the circumstances. You can see it in the leaked audio Candace referenced, conversations about merchandise tied directly to Charlie's name happening almost immediately after his passing. Before the public grieving had even settled, before anyone had time to breathe, that detail alone had people raising eyebrows hard, because timing in moments like that says everything about priorities. You can see it in the public appearances, the calculated push to maintain full control of the narrative at all times, to define exactly how this story gets told and in what order, before anyone else gets the chance to offer a different version. Every statement timed, every appearance managed, every message carefully shaped before it reaches the public. And now you can see it clearly in the courtroom. Because if everything surrounding this case is as clean and straightforward as it's being presented, then there should be absolutely no resistance to handing over the complete files. There should be no issue allowing the defense to properly verify the claims being made against their client. There should be no problem slowing things down just enough to make sure the entire process holds up under real scrutiny from all sides. But that's not what's happening. Instead, there is a hard and aggressive push forward. Despite missing pieces, despite unanswered questions, despite a defense team that hasn't been given what it's legally entitled to examine. And that detail changes everything. Because once you notice that pattern, the case stops being purely about whether Tyler Robinson did what he's accused of doing. It becomes about why the entire system surrounding this case is behaving the way it is, and why Erika Kirk appears to be sitting right at the center of that pressure. Candace isn't backing down either. If anything, she's pushing harder, calling out each inconsistency as it surfaces, forcing people to look at details they would have scrolled past otherwise, making sure the conversation doesn't get quietly buried under the weight of the official narrative being constructed. And because of that, people are watching this entire situation differently now. Not just the evidence, but the behavior. Not just what's being said, but what's being deliberately kept quiet and why. The online community is locked in. One user wrote, "Charlie never had a better friend than Candace." A critic said bluntly, "Why does Erika Kirk even have a say in any of this? She is not the victim in this case. Charlie is." Another person added, "A speedy trial is a right that belongs to the defendant." not the victim's wife. And those comments reflect something real, a growing frustration with a process that appears to be bending in ways that serve one side while the other side can't even access the basic evidence they need to mount a proper defense. The question that keeps surfacing no matter how many times people try to move past it remains the same. If everything being claimed is real, if the case is truly as solid as it's being presented publicly, then why rush it? Why hide parts of it? Why filter what the defense gets to see? Why push for television coverage before the foundation has even been fully examined? These aren't small procedural details. They're the kind of questions that define whether a legal process is genuinely about justice or about something else entirely. And if this trial is truly and only about Tyler Robinson, then why does the entire energy surrounding it feel like something much larger is being protected? What is sitting inside those files that a summary wasn't good enough to replace? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this one has people completely divided. If you're locked in on this story, hit like, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to see it, and stay ready because there's more coming.